How's this Tamia? I wanted to know because I genuinely cared and Aurora could see that from my face. She's okay but very tired. All she did in getting rid of Data and cleaning up your mess must have taken a toll on her, she said, and I wondered what she did. Guess Kira didn't know that one. What did she do? I asked. Kira Sodi was getting the better of me now. Data made you attack a pack. That had been her plan all along so that you could be shunned by the wolves and become a rogue and then get killed. But Tamia, don't ask me how she did it, saved most of them, healed those who were badly hurt and made them forget what happened. She even offered them a chance to become a part of our pack. Because their leader was dead, guess who killed him? And she figured that they would be preyed upon if she left them unguarded. She figures that taking care of them would be your way of atoning for what you did. Roar finished and I was almost in tears. So that meant that Tamia still loved me. If she didn't, she would have left me to get killed or shunned by the wolves. She would have let Data do what she had planned. I needed to talk to her no matter how embarrassed I felt. Can I see Data? I asked my sister. Kira said that he couldn't take me because Tamia had made him promise not to. I even wondered who was his alpha, me or Tamia, but I gathered it was because they thought that I would lose my cool and kill her. I could take you to her, but you have to promise not to kill her because she might provoke you. She is very bitter since her revenge plan didn't go through and she lost all her powers, Aurora said. Why don't we just kill her? I wondered. I didn't understand why we were still keeping her alive. Because Tamia says not to. She told me that Daida's blood will be very helpful in the ritual to break the curse her mother put on you. Since the woman sacrificed her blood to curse you, her blood is needed to free you. And Data is her blood, and so, it all made sense now. I understood why they couldn't kill her yet. Okay, I won't kill her, I promise. I said and I meant it. I went towards the lower dungeons where Data had been kept because there were things Emi wanted to know and I wanted to see it for myself. I still can't wrap my finger over the fact that she's called Kellen. And if what Kira said is anything to go with, she is very old and ugly. I had promised not to kill her and I wasn't going to. If it was true what Aurora said that Tamia was going to use her, Daida's blood in curing me of this damned curse, then she won't be able to chip at my self-control. Not today. The guards all bowed when they saw who it was without a question, and when I came to the last cell in the bottom-most level of our dungeon, it was opened without a word by a guard who was watching over the door. There at the center was the ugliest woman I have ever laid my eyes on. She looked like a blob with eyes and feet. I did not even want to imagine that I had kissed such an ugly thing. This wasn't the Data I had mated with and marked. Now that I think about it, it had been a while and I haven't felt the bond between me and her. So, after her magic was taken by Tamia, her magic couldn't obviously work on me and I was freed, thank the moon goddess. The woman at the center of the room had been tied with robes all over her body and her hands had been tied and raised and connected to a rope that was hanging from the ceiling. She looked beaten and worn out though there wasn't even a bruise on her. Is this really necessary? I asked the guard who had opened the door, as I gestured to all the robes. Bear with us, Alpha, but with all due respect, she is a witch and we are just being careful, he said, and I have to admit, he made sense. She opened her eyes weakly when she saw me and was that surprise I saw there. Surprised that I am back and, well, I asked her. I bet she thought I would die. Yes, I am surprised, because I was sure that you would die. How did you escape? She asked me and I realized that she wasn't as weak as she would have made me believe. She was a witch after and she looked old. Was that the same way her mother disguised herself with magic and spelled my dad so as to love her? Now that it had happened to me, I felt sorry for him. I accused him of many things and even accused him of killing my mom. But look at what I had done to Tamia too just because I was under a spell. Anyway, the woman was looking at me waiting for an answer and I wasn't going to give her one. Why quench her curiosity? It's not important how I escaped. What's important is you telling me why you went through all the trouble of trapping me. Why? Was it all worth it? I asked as I crouched to get level with her and see her face so that she could stop raising her fat head. I also wanted to imprint her ugly face in my head. It's okay even if you escaped. You killed a pack and you are going to pay for it. No matter how far you hide. I am going to make sure of it. Also, the blood moon curse is still with you and no one except my mom who threw it at you is able to break it. Was it all worth it? Don't you think it were better if you had died in that maze? She said, reworking my question to mock me, and I smiled. This one was behind news, wasn't she? I didn't tell her anything, however. At this point, I wasn't taking any more chances. Never. She looked at me waiting for me to say something and I didn't. You're so boring. So boring that if it wasn't that I had a mission, I would have killed myself. It took me all my self-control not to puke every time you held me. That 1 week I pretended to be on heat was like torture to me. How do you even live with yourself? She asked with a disgusted frown, and for a moment there I wondered if she was talking to me. Me. Disgusting? Boring? Come on. I am one of the most handsome men out here. I am an alpha wolf. A Lycan alpha at that. Huh. They really knew what they meant when they said that she was gonna try and provoke me. But she wasn't going to win. Not today, mama. Not today. Still waiting for you to tell me why you targeted me, I said with a straight face. She sneered and spat. See what I mean? So boring. Why can't you even humor me? I almost laughed because instead of it being me who was getting irritated, it was her, and it was pure joy to watch her in such misery. Kira and Aurora had told me what she said about revenging for her mother, but I wanted to hear it from her. Why? Was it all the trouble she went through? I killed her mother and her mother killed my mother. Wasn't that enough? Wasn't it all drawn out? It was for revenge, and it still is. Even if I die today, there is someone else to continue with our work. Or did you think that I was working alone? No, there are many of us, and we will die one by one, but by the end of it all, you lot will have paid. We know that the mission we took on is risky and we dare because yes, it is all worth it, she said, and I realized that there was more to the story than we all knew. This anger and hatred in her seed deep-seated. Why? Why so much hatred? When your mother came to live in this pack, she killed my mother. Don't you think that her death canceled out the debt I owe you? We should be good because we all lost mothers. I tried convincing. You think it was only that? 100 years ago, the wolf packs all came together to massacre witches. Thousands and thousands of us died in that crusade. We will make all the wolves suffer for that. The way you all wanted to finish my kind is the same way we will finish yours. But we will use brain. We use brain, but all you idiots know is to brawl. You will all regret it. You wait for it. It started a long time ago, she said and laughed that weird dry laugh witches do. It seemed we were paying for what our ancestors did. This wasn't going to be easy and we had to be well prepared. I turned in a bid to walk out and she stopped me. I had heard all I wanted to hear and the rest lay with Tamia. Tell Tamia not to think she's too powerful for taking my powers and reducing me to this. She will pay. I will make sure that I give her a long, slow death, she said, and I turned fully and faced her. I bent so as to look in her eyes directly, and with mirth in my eyes I asked her, and for killing you, what will you do? I walked out and I still remember her face. She looked horrified. I think she never considered death. It was like she was sure that she would be rescued. But I didn't take her threat lightly. I was going to make sure that nothing and no one would hurt Tamia. I would die protecting her. After I visited Data, I didn't feel better like I had thought. Yes, it was clear that I had been spelled, but so what? But I also wondered what I could have done to prevent it. Was there anything I could have done? Would somebody else have handled it better? I don't know, and I don't think so. I would visit my dad's grave to maybe ask for forgiveness and ask his spirit to watch over us, because if what Data said was anything to go by, we still had a long way to go. But before that, I didn't know who talked to first, Tamia or Aurora. I walked without knowing where my legs were taking me or where I was going until I found myself in the royal quarters again, standing in front of Tamia's door. When I realized where my legs had taken me, I stood at the door confused. I didn't know what to say to her after I go in. Where do I start? What do I tell her? Would I get mad if she kicks me out? Why would I? But I prayed that she wouldn't. Just go in or go back. You are making the guards uncomfortable. I spun in surprise when Aurora spoke behind me. I was so deep in my thoughts that I didn't hear her come. That was so out of character for me, and it all went to show how much this whole Data saga affected me and still was. But all given, I wasn't perfect. I was prone to mistakes and I should apologize. I sighed deeply and then opened the door without even looking at Aurora or knocking. I realized that I hadn't knocked when my eyes met with Tamia's. Oh, sorry, I said as I walked out again and closed the door. Aurora was still standing there looking at me, but she didn't say anything. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door, and when I heard Tamia's voice say come in, I rubbed my palms together, took another deep breath and walked in. I was nervous, and I'm sure both Tamia and Aurora saw it. But even if they did, none of them said anything. Aurora never got in with me. She left me to fight alone, and I appreciated her for it. This was something I needed to do alone. Hello, Tamia. How have you been? I asked as she stood when I walked in again. Alpha, how are you? She greeted as she bowed. Why are you greeting me like that? I asked, surprised that she would do that. Isn't she my mate? She doesn't have to. I am a member of this pack now, and it's only right that I pay respects to my alpha, she said as she sat again. Please don't. You aren't just any member. You are my. I wanted to say mate, but I couldn't bring myself to say the word. I felt embarrassed. May I sit down? I asked because she hadn't invited me to sit down, and I took it as a clear indication that she didn't want me to stay. It's your house, Alpha. Please sit, she said, and I wasn't liking the way the conversation was going. It was like she was deliberately trying to create a distance between us, and she was breaking my heart. I didn't want to be a stranger to her, but I was a very patient man. I would do whatever it took to get her forgiveness. Tamia, how have you been? I asked, and she looked at me deeply. She fixated her gaze on me, but I didn't shy away. I held her eyes, and this is when I took a good look at her. Tamia was beautiful. She was like a breath of fresh air. She reminded me of my mom. She had sharp features made for a queen. Her lips were full and her upper lip was heart-shaped, and the sides of her cheeks looked like they would dimple if she smiled. But now that I think of it, I have never seen her smile. When I took her from the lake, she looked battered and ugly. After that, she was in pain, and I have never sat with her to have a conversation. This was the first time Tamia and I were sitting down like this since she came here. Now that I think of it, I have really treated her bad. I am well, really well, thanks to you. I now have a place I can call home and a pack that accepts me, though not everyone. So, I am very well, thank you, she said, and I felt like some of her words were sarcastic, but at least I didn't detect any enmity or hostility. This meant that we were good, and all I had to do was to bare my heart to her. Alpha, she started, but I cut her short. Please call me Killian Tamia. It would make me very happy, I said, but I didn't even know why I would care whether she made me happy or not, having in mind that all I have ever given her since knowing me was pain. Killian, I want you to know that I don't blame you for anything. You did what you had to do and what you thought was best at that time. So, don't feel burdened. It's all right, she said, and I have never loved someone like the way I loved Tamia at that moment. I had this instinct to just grab her and hug her tightly, but I held myself back. I knew that if I did that, I would maybe scare her away. I shed tears. I didn't feel them, I just saw her surprised face. Killian, are you okay? She asked, and she looked horrified. Yes, never been better, I said, trying to smile, but I don't know how it came out. I was the alpha, and here I was in tears. I knew I was scaring her. She handed me some paper towels, and I used them to wipe the tears. Why are you crying? She asked. Couldn't she see that I was fucking happy? It's because I am fucking happy, Tamia. You've made me very happy. Thank you. Thank you for your help and everything that you have done. I promise that I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. And I am so sorry for hurting you. I am so sorry. If there's anything I can do to make it up to you, please let me know, I said as I smiled at her. I swear I have never given another person this smile, neither have I ever said so many words together at the same time to anyone except my beta. Only Tamia could make me grin like a fool. Wanna know why I hold no grudge against you even after everything? She asked, and I nodded eagerly. I wanted to know because this was totally the opposite of what I thought, of what I expected. It's because I know the inner battle you have gone through, and I also know that you have beaten yourself enough. That's enough, she said with a small smile, and those dimples threatened to come out. The moon goddess gave me an angel for a mate. I won't lie, I was very angry at Killian, from the moment he refused to meet my gaze when he realized that I was his mate, to when I felt that excruciating pain and realized that it was him mating with another, to him bringing Data here and having sex with her in the same premises that I was in. I was pissed. I wanted nothing to do with him because it all reminded me of Logan. It all reminded me of the fact that I was always mated to assholes who cared about nothing except their own gain. I was reminded of the pain I went through in my former pack in the hands of the person who was supposed to love and protect me. But after he went to the forest and the light inside me started acting up, I came to understand him more. When I had that dream and saw the moon goddess, I thought it was all just that, a dream. That was why I never thought a lot about it until that day I felt powerful and did things I never thought I could. Also, that light helped me realize that I was always a beta. But the question I still haven't found an answer to is, why did I always emit an Omega's aura and always felt like one? But the answer to that wasn't important right now. There would be enough time to find the answers in the future. The issue now was the fact that I understood Killian and why he did what he did, and he was sitting before me looking all vulnerable. This made me think of what I would have done had I been in a similar situation. If it was me in a similar situation, I'm not sure that I wouldn't do the same things he did and maybe even make the same choices as he did. There was no way he would have found that Data was a fake and a witch at that, because he was a wolf who had been spelled. From what Data had said, the spell took time and she had strengthened it. She had powerful magic masking her real self, and as a wolf, there was nothing he could have done. I was able to see through her because the moon goddess was guiding me. Everything I did that day was all new to me, and everything was coming with instinct. It was as if I had done it several times in the past. Defeating Data was easy. The hardest part would be breaking the blood curse that was used to bind Killian to become a blood-lusting monster every 2 years. I knew Killian was sorry and remorseful, but I didn't want to be the one to go looking for him. I wanted him to come looking for me. That way, it would be easier to say what he wanted because he would have obviously thought of everything. He was so adorable as he apologized, and I could see the remorse in his eyes, and it was enough torture for him. I thus decided to shed my ego and let it go. During the blood moon, you have to be ready. That's when we should break the curse. It was a sacrifice to the blood moon Aida did by killing herself, and to ask it to take the curse back. We must sacrifice something of her blood, and that is what I am keeping Data for. She is the daughter of the woman who spelled you, and thus, the blood moon will agree to the exchange. So, make sure that she is kept well and doesn't kill herself or escape. I have this feeling that she is not working alone. For a witch as old as her, there must be more than meets the eye. I don't think her whole purpose was revenge for her mother, I said as we talked, and I saw something flash in Killian's eyes. I myself could not tell how I knew all these things. What? Did she say something? I asked, and Killian relied everything Data had said. Apparently, it was a much bigger scene than we even thought. She had come ready for anything. They had taken care of all angles, and what they hadn't foreseen was someone thwarting their plans. Change the place where she is kept. Let's put her somewhere else. In fact, let's move her around every day. I have a feeling that even though her powers are gone, her sisters might have a way of locating her, and the more she stays in one room, the better the chances of rescuing her. Let's confuse them. We can never be too careful, I said. I had this gut feeling that we were being watched. After we talked and cleared the air, Killian didn't leave. We talked and talked for hours, and even food was delivered in our room. Roar didn't show up that day. It was like she knew that she would be interrupting. We had so much to talk about. And that was when I realized that Killian was just putting up a cold exterior, and it was all a facade to protect himself and his loved ones. Deep inside, he was a fluffy, lovable teddy bear who just wanted to be understood. I have to confess that I too was very happy. This was the first time in my whole life, except for Alana, that I felt needed and accepted. Alana, Aurora, and now Killian treated me as equals. I was happy because despite being much stronger and a Lycan, Killian was a million times more nicer than Logan. One thing led to another, and then, will you be my wife? I am sorry for what happened, but I really want to have you as my mate. If you give me the honor, I will live to make up for the pain I put you through and love and treat you as the queen you are. Killian said, and I swear my heart melted at that moment. Say yes, bitch. Say yes. This is the moment we have all been waiting for, Sasha said, and I almost leapt for it and with joy, and then I remembered. I wasn't a virgin. I had been violated time and time again, and how could I do that to Killian? We can't, Sasha. We can't accept him as our mate. Have you forgotten what Logan and Carter did to us? I asked her, and all that time, Killian was sitting there eagerly waiting for my answer. How was any of that your fault? Sasha asked as if it was nothing. I know it wasn't my fault, but it doesn't change the fact that I am not fit to be this Pax Luna. They deserve someone pure. I reasoned with her. Why are you deciding for him? Have you asked him? And he said you aren't fit? Don't take this opportunity away from us. With Killian by our side, we will be able to easily take revenge on Logan. We not only need a mate but a powerful affiliate, Sasha said, and I knew that she made sense. But what if Killian rejected us? How many men would take a woman who had been violated time and time again by not one, but several men? I wondered. Tamia, are you okay? Did you hear me? Killian's concerned voice brought me back to earth. Killian, before I answer. I have to tell you a story. It was now or never. if you dare destroy this chance for us, I am leaving and never coming back. Sasha threatened me as I was thinking of where to start with my story. I knew it was going to hurt reliving those memories, but it was something I needed to do if Killian was going to be with me. I wanted him to be with me because he chose to and not because I lied. I wanted it to be a choice he made and not just be with me because the moon goddess mated me to him. I wanted to bare my heart before him and hope that he would accept me. Hopefully. He won't be disgusted by my past, but if he would be, then well and good. Tamia, you can tell me anything. I promise that it won't change what I feel for and about you, Killian said when he saw that I had taken long to speak. He was trying to cheer me up, but his words would be proven right after he listens to my story. It was easier said than done. I am an orphan, I began. So am I, Killian said, and that made me smile. Talk of wanting to lick my boots for favors. I was born in a pack, but my mom died when I was very young. My father was a beta and my mom was an omega. So I was told. He used to work for the then alpha, and that made me frequent the palace a lot and the princess of the pack, and I became friends very fast. We really clicked. It was like we were sisters. She didn't care that I was poor and not as beautiful as she was. No. She was my best friend and she supported me in anything and everything, to the consternation and annoyance of many. Those who didn't know our relationship thought that we were sisters. Anyway, we turned 17 and we then turned to our animals. Alana was a beta and I was an omega. Her father had passed on in battle and her older brother, Logan, took over as the alpha. During our turning ceremony, Alana was mated to the pack's beta. He's called Carter. She had loved him even before then, but she couldn't tell him. She was the princess and she thus had to wait for her chosen mate, and she could never act out of line. You can imagine her joy when she realized that she was mated to the man of her dreams. Me. I was mated to Alana's brother and the alpha of our pack, I said bitterly. Logan, Killian asked, though it came out like a statement. The name sounded bitter in his lips. It was like he didn't like Logan, but I didn't ask. There would be a lot of time to find out. Also, since I had started to speak, I didn't want to stop. If I stopped, I would never find the courage again. Logan didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that he was mated to a weak, unattractive omega. He had an affair with this beautiful girl ever since I could remember, and maybe he thought he would be mated to her and I was a disappointment. I chuckled sarcastically as the memories of that day flooded my mind. I could see Alana, all excited at being mated to the man of her dreams, and her and Carter kissing and hugging in joy. I also could see Logan. He was seated on the high table looking all grumpy and didn't look my way even once. That night, after we all knew our mates, Logan walked up to me. I was shy and couldn't approach him obviously. Tamia, right? My sister's best friend? Alana is so good to a fault. I don't know what good she gets in being your friend. Were you happy that you were mated to me? The alpha? The goddess? He didn't finish, though I felt the disgust and contempt in his voice. He walked away and didn't even reject me. I was confused. But the fact that he detested me being friends with the princess told me that he wasn't going to accept being my mate. It was humiliating to him. After that, he never talked to me again, but he would sleep with the girl he loved, and that would bring me pain like I had never felt. At first, I didn't know what it was until Alana took me to the PAX doctor and he told us. She got very angry and confronted her brother about it, and he told her that I could reject him if I didn't like being his mate, but he wouldn't accept my rejection. I made sure to hide it from Alana every time he did it, and I kind of became used to it. Alana's and Carter's wedding was arranged and the date set. We were all so happy about it. At least one of us was getting the happiness she deserved. One day, Alana and I decided to go to a cliff where we had went numerous times to celebrate the end of her single life. We went as usual and we never took any guards with us because it was the PAX territory and no attack has ever happened. As we walked, I felt a hit at the back of my head and I lost consciousness. Here, you can even feel the scar up to today because it never healed well. I didn't go to the hospital. I held Killian's hand and directed his fingers to the scar that was the remembrance of the day I lost my best friend. Why weren't you taken to the hospital? Killian asked, with a dark face, but I did not answer him. I wanted to continue going. When I regained consciousness, Alana was lying there in a pool of her own blood, taking her last breaths, and I was holding a bloody knife with my hand all bloody. At that moment, all I could think of was saving Alana, and so I didn't even think of the implications. I just put the knife down and ran to her. I tried calling her, but she looked at me one more time and closed her eyes. Forever. At this moment, tears were streaming down my face uncontrollably. It was like I could still see Alana's bloody body and still feel the smell of her blood. The iron as the air went down the air duct. I could remember the pain as it seared my heart to see her close her eyes, and I couldn't hear her heartbeat anymore. The pain was still here with me. Tamia, you don't have to tell me if it's very painful. We can always do this some other time, Killian said as he tried to comfort me. I knew he meant well, but this is something I had to do. No, it's okay. These are tears of the memories. I have cried over it enough. I'm okay. You don't have to worry, I said with a smile. I didn't want to postpone this because I would then procrastinate it forever. You sure? He asked me. Yeah, I am, I said as I sniffed, and he handed me some paper towels that were on the table. I smiled at him gratefully as I braced myself for part 2. I screamed. That was the first reaction I had when I saw Alana lifeless. I screamed, willing her soul back. I screamed, begging the moon goddess to take me and exchange my life for hers. I screamed, begging any deity that could hear me to save her, and I would sacrifice myself to it. But none listened. She was gone, I continued. I couldn't believe that my best friend was dead. She was dead. I still held to her body, trying to exchange her fate with mine. It all seemed. I struggled to find the word, and I was grateful to Killian because he was patient enough to wait. Surreal. It was like all a bad dream. I wondered why a sweet girl like Alana would die, leaving me the poor one with nothing alive. The first to arrive at the scene were the guards who were on patrol, and they called Logan and Carter through their mind links, which I didn't have access to since I hadn't made it to build the link with the pack. And I still remember the first slap Logan gave me when he saw me holding Alana's lifeless body. You killed her, you bitch. I knew you were always jealous of her, were his first words, and I looked at him lost for words. I knew I was already convicted from those words. I couldn't speak because I didn't have the energy, and I was still in shock. I thought he knew how I felt about Alana. I would never kill her for the life of me. I would have exchanged my life for hers, but no one believed me. They already had decided I had a motive. According to them, I was always jealous of Alana, and I wanted all she had. The murder weapon was there, and when forensics run my fingerprints on it, it was a match. No other fingerprints were found on the knife, and so I was convicted even without a trial. I was the murderer, and no one even wanted to listen to my pleas. I begged to talk to Logan to explain what had happened, but they wouldn't let me. That's why I was never taken to the hospital for my head injury. The only person who believed me was my dad, but Logan killed him before my eyes. An eye for an eye and a life for a life, he said. My dad's life for Alana single quotes S.it was the darkest period of my life. Then the suffering began. He would sleep with women and make me experience all the pain. Every time I would try rejecting him, he would send his warriors to come and beat me, and then have sex with a woman again to torture me. When he was done with torturing me through the pain of the bond, he came and rejected me, and I accepted the rejection, thinking that I would be okay after we severed the bond. I thought that he would leave me alone after that, but how wrong I was. How wrong I was, I says, with a dreamy look, as I remembered those dark days. The reason why he did that was so that he could give me to Carter and the other warriors to rape and torture me. Carter blamed me for the death of his wife, and thus, he was the fiercest of them all. Logan would watch as they took turns raping and torturing me. I held on because I wanted to prove my innocence. I was rarely given food and made to work. They put the silver chains you found in me, and they tied them tight enough to make sure that I felt the pain. During the day, I would work in the fields from dawn to dusk, and if I showed any slacking off, I would be beaten as I was made to work faster. The jobs ranged from plowing the land alone, planting, watering plants, carrying water for our animals, cleaning the training grounds, and such. I worked in those chains. After work, I would be given a small morsel. I think they just wanted to keep me alive so as to torture me more. After eating the stale food, the raping would start all over again. The first one was always Carter, the man who took my virginity. He would do it from all ways as he reminded me that I killed his beloved. Then the others would also do it, and lasted for hours and hours. They would laugh whenever I cried, telling them that I didn't kill Alana. When I didn't cry, I was beaten for it. This happened on a daily basis for months. All this time, Logan would be there watching with loathing in his eyes. No one listened to me, and I think I got tired of it all. I knew I was dying when my wolf couldn't take it anymore, and she abandoned me. I was now a mere human with silver binding me. Wolf's bane in my system and all battered and weak. I gave up when I met Logan one morning after all the trials of trying to see him had failed. I tried explaining to him what had happened, but he didn't even listen. He slapped and kicked me and said all these hurtful words, and that was when I decided to end it all. They kept torturing me, demanding I leave the pack, but I did not want to become a rogue. I didn't deserve it. I walked weakly to the place where Alana was killed. I apologized to her because I had promised her to look for her killers, but I couldn't hold on anymore. I knew she understood. How was I supposed to avenge her when her brother was hell-bent on believing that it was me? How was I supposed to escape? All that when even my wolf had left me. I couldn't, and that was why I jumped into the sea at the place where it all started. I wanted to escape the pain. I wanted it all to end. I didn't think that anyone would rescue me, but then you happened. I finished, and all the while I was speaking, I was not looking at Killian. I don't think that I could have just stood by and watched the look of disgust on his face. I was ready for the rejection, and I braced myself for the pain. What I didn't count on was what I saw. Killian was in tears as he looked at me. "I'm so sorry, Tamia," he said. So sorry. "What are you apologizing for?" I asked him. He didn't have to apologize. I was a filthy creature that had been violated, and I was the one who was supposed to apologize to him and not the other way round. I am the one who should be apologizing to you. I am not worthy of being your mate. You deserve someone better. Someone pure. I am sorry because I know that you were mated to me because I happen to be here. If you reject me, I promise I will understand and I won't hold it against you, I said as I avoided his gaze. I had already seen enough disgust in Logan and Carter, and I didn't need to see any more from another would-have-been husband. I sat there waiting for him to speak and reject me, but the rejection never came. I wasn't prepared for what he did next. He lifted me in one of swell move and placed me on his lap and then hugged me. I sat there trying to fathom what had just happened, and I felt that warmth and the hot tears on my shoulder. I felt the need to comfort him, and so I wound my hands around him and hugged him back. He tightened his hold on me, and for the first time, I smelt him up close. He smelled like salt water. It was like he was just from the sea, and I could smell the sea in him. I felt him through that hug. He was boundless like the sea and loving. He was this being that asked for love, and I felt the need to love him. I wanted him to know that I understood. Thus, I didn't draw away when he turned to my mouth and claimed me in a kiss. It broke my heart to see Tamia crying, and my first instinct was to get the hole that had hurt her and make him pay. I now realized why she was all battered and almost dead when I found her. Those assholes needed to pay. I would make them pay. That was a promise I made to myself. She hated herself, and it was understandable. I blamed them for it. I would undo what they had done, but there was no forgiveness for them. What she didn't understand was that it wasn't her fault that she was violated. It was their fault, and being violated sexually and abused didn't mean that she wasn't worth anything. No. In fact, she was worth much more because it showed how strong she was. She was able to take all that and come out victorious. That called for respect. I respected her, and I wanted to show her that I didn't care that she wasn't a virgin, and I didn't care how she lost her virginity. My body moved without my brain thinking, and before I could even register what was happening, I had put her on my lap and I was embracing her. I shared my body warmth with her and wanted her to feel my love. I wanted her to know that she was not alone. I needed her to know that she had me. I needed her to know that I didn't care and I was okay with how she was. I was okay with her scars because they made her this woman I am in love with. I needed her to know that I loved and wanted her. So I found myself claiming her. I wanted to make her mine. I thus kissed her and I felt her return the kiss, and that was when I knew that I had made the right decision. This kiss was right. I kissed her and forced her teeth apart with my tongue and invaded her mouth. She smelled of earth, like fresh earth when it rains, and a pinch of flowers. It was a mixture of rosemaries, lavender and jasmine. She smelt like home. She smelt grounded. I wanted to claim her and make her mine. I sucked on her tongue and I felt her whimper in my arms, and she also fought for dominance, and I allowed her to suck on my tongue, and I swear it took my breath away. We exchanged saliva and I swear it was the most sweetest thing ever. I wanted this and I wanted her. I wanted to mark her and claim her for me. Black was ecstatic. He wanted to come out and claim Tamia, and it was a battle for me caging him in. I kissed Tamia's mouth and lips, and every part of my body wanted and screamed for her. She didn't disappoint me, as I could feel that she wanted me as much as I wanted her. I wanted to be hers. I wanted Tamia to mark me. I was an alpha and I didn't know where the urge came from, but I wanted Tamia to make me hers. I wanted to carry her mark on my neck. We kissed for a little longer and then I left her mouth and took her to the bed. I carried her princess style as we locked eyes, and I wanted to see if I could see resistance in her eyes, but I didn't. I placed her on the bed, and I stood for a few seconds to shed the jacket I was wearing. I then descended on her and started devouring her. I kissed and nibbled on her neck, and I made sure that I bit hard enough to leave hickeys. I wanted everyone to know that she had been claimed. She moaned as I kissed her, and I lifted the small top she was wearing, and she didn't resist. She lifted her arms, and I slid the top off of her, and there she was in all her glory. She was wearing a black floral bra that was a clear contrast to her skin, and it made her look whiter than she actually was. Her two breasts stood calling for me, and her nipples were already erect. I looked at her, and I needed permission to do this. "May I touch you?" I asked, and she nodded her head, and that was all the encouragement I needed. I kissed her clavicle as my hand slid inside her bra, and I cupped on of those mounds. She was hot and she shivered at the touch, and I did too. I felt my little willy stand erect and twitch at that connection, even when I slept with Data. It never aroused such feelings in me. This felt right. I kissed her all over the neck and shoulder blades, and then I shifted and moved down a little. The clasp of her bra was at the front, and I unclasped it gently as I looked at her eyes to see her reaction, and it was very encouraging. I lifted her up and took the bra off, and now the two mounds were there bared for me to please. The pink nipples were staring and calling at me, and I heeded that call. I bent slowly and took one nipple in my mouth, and she cried in pleasure, and I felt pleased that she was feeling good all because of me. I promised myself not to rush. I was going to take her to heaven and earth and make her forget all the torment she had been put through. I wanted to make her realize that sex was and could also be love-making that would make one fall in love time and time again. Sex wasn't supposed to be painful but enjoyable. I was making up for all the pain she underwent. I kissed and sucked her nipple as I played with the other between my fingers, and I exchanged them like that. After a while, I moved downwards and started kissing her stomach, playing with her navel and kissing her sides. I traced her ribs with my tongue, and I was not in a hurry. It was like I was counting them one by one. I couldn't believe that Tamia was allowing me to do this to her, and that made me even harder, and I could feel my D start sipping precum. This was an endurance test, and I was going to pass. I turned her and I attacked her back. I kissed her all over, making sure that I was leaving hickeys in my wake. It was like her skin was a canvas and my lips, saliva and teeth were ink and pen, and I was leaving a beautiful painting all over her body. I then turned her again, and I was facing her again, and I smiled at her. "You okay?" I asked her. She nodded her head after clearing her throat. I guess the voice wouldn't come out. "May I?" I asked, gesturing to the pants she was wearing, and she nodded her head again. I undid the zip that was holding it in place, and I slid the pants down her legs, and she lifted her ass to allow me slid it down easily. After I did that, I stopped and knelt there while admiring her. Tamia had such a beautiful skin, and she was flawless. Her body shape made one want to own her. The rise of her hips as they met at the slim waist made me want to measure it using the length of my fingers. "Damn, you are gorgeous," I said, and it was true. "She's so damn beautiful." "You lie," she said, and I took her hand and bit her. "Ouch. Why did you do that?" she asked as she took her arm from me and rubbed where my teeth had sunk. "Because you don't believe it when I tell you that you are beautiful," I said, and she smiled. "You are gorgeous, babes. Very, very beautiful. You are like the moon goddess's own daughter. It's like the gods took their time while creating you. It's like they had gone on vacation and you were their first creation when they resumed work. I want to make you mine," I said, and that made her blush. "With you talking like that, when will we get down to it?" she asked with amusement in her eyes. "Eager much now, are we?" I teased. "Okay. I forgot that I had a meeting with Aurora." "See you," she said as she made as if to rise, and I held her. "Come here," I said as I took her mouth again, and I felt her laugh into the kiss. "I will make you remember tonight for a very long time to come," I told her as I laid her in bed again, and I straddled her. I wanted to be Tamia's first love, and so I swore to love her right. I wanted to make her forget all the torment she had gone through. Thus, I didn't hurry, and I urged my body to calm down as we pleased her. I wanted to worship her. I wanted to make every part of her body feel special. She was precious, and I was going to treat her as such. I thus continued kissing her, and I left her mouth and went down on her legs. I started by kissing her inner thighs, and I felt her tremble with anticipation and want. I kissed one leg after the other from the thighs to the toes. I kissed one toe after the other, and she was wriggling on the bed, sometimes wriggling with giggles and sometimes trying to take her leg away from my grasp and begging me to stop. "Stop it, please. My body is very sensitive and itchy," she would say, but I would continue to love and kiss her. I loved it when she would melt to jelly and then solidify again. I then knelt on the bed and took off my shirt and I laid on her and I felt an electric shock where our bodies met. She also felt it because I felt her tremble. We were meant to be. I kissed her as I started rubbing her clit through her panties. She tried closing her legs, but I was there holding them open with my strong legs. I took her mouth and explored it with my tongue as I pleased her, and I could tell and feel that she was pleased. "Please," she said, and I didn't know what she was begging for. She was already wet and it was sipping through her panties, and I left her mouth and attacked her nipples with my mouth and fingers again as I continued rubbing her sacred place. I felt her whimper and I left her 2 lovely mounds as I went down on her. I wanted to make her orgasm a million times. I wanted to make her call my name even before I got inside her. This day wasn't about making love to Tamia or fucking her. It was about loving her. It was about making her believe that she was a queen and deserved to be treated as such. And love her I did do. I removed her panties in one swell move and I held her legs apart by placing them on my shoulders, and I went down on her with my lips and tongue. I sucked, fucked and kissed. I nibbled on it and I could feel her little tremors and trembles as she enjoyed what I was doing. I used my finger to open the way as I nibbled on her clit in a slow motion. I then increased the motion of my finger in and out from slow to fast. I finger fucked her while eating her and she tried talking, but she couldn't. I then felt her tremble. And she screamed but muffled the scream by covering her mouth with her hands, and she released all around my finger. I continued eating her and I cleaned her with my tongue. By the time I was coming up, she was trembling and teary. That was. Wow. She couldn't finish, but one thing was clear. She enjoyed it. She enjoyed the care I gave her. Tamia was smiling and she didn't even notice me take off my pants and boxer altogether. By the time she was noticing that I was fully naked, was when I straddled her and my willy was standing at attention staring at her. "Wow, that's so big," Tamia gasped, and she made me laugh. "It won't hurt you because you are made for me, but it will bite," I said and giggled as I watched her blush. I loved looking at her face when it was making 1,000,001 expressions in response to my loving and teasing. "I love you, Tamia," I whispered as I lowered my body. "Please don't hurt me," she whispered, and I felt her shiver. I would never hurt her for the life in me, but I didn't tell her that. I wanted to communicate it to her using actions. Don't they say that actions speak louder than words? I held her gaze as I parted her legs and positioned myself in between them. I held her gaze as I held my willy and directed it home. I felt the heat even before I started entering. I could see the fear in her eyes, but I held her gaze as a promise that I would not hurt her. I started entering her and it was torture. It was torture not to just plunge in her and devour her. It was torture, for I had to move slowly and wait for her to get accustomed to having me in her. We held gazes, and when I was sure that she was sure I would not hurt her, I started moving slowly as I savored that first moment. The heat in her encompassed me and I wanted to move faster, but I stopped myself. I wanted to feel her. I wanted her to feel me too. I wanted her to know that this was the way I was going to be treating her from today onwards. I moved slowly and then I lowered myself so that we were skin to skin as I held her head gently in my big palm and my other hand supported me, so that I wouldn't crush her with my weight. I loved Tamia slowly and I felt her relax, and she moved, I think wanting to position herself well. That movement made me forget myself as I felt myself explode in her. It was so soon, but she was so sweet, and I was wrong to think I could hold it for longer. But looking at Tamia, she didn't even know what had happened, and I took advantage of that. I lowered my head and started kissing her as I moved, and she started moving too, though with caution at first. I loved it and I felt my heart swell with pride. Tamia was finally mine. She was mine. I increased my humping movement and Tamia matched me with her moans and groans, and I couldn't help but moan with her. She was so damn sweet, and this was everything and more of how I dreamt lovemaking should be. This was everything I needed. I flipped us and she was now on top of me, and I held her hips in place and I continued fucking her in that position. Her breasts moved up and down and it was intoxicating. She was bearing herself before me and I was doing the same. I felt my heart swell with pride at the thought that I was here doing this to her. We made love in that position and I felt myself at the verge of release, and I flipped us again and I was on top again. Black was screaming at me to mark her and I let him out. I wanted to mark her too because I wanted her to be ours. I wanted to be sure that she was mine and won't go anywhere. When I let Black out, he increased the movements and I heard Tamia groan with need, and when I was about to release, Black bared out our fangs and sank them at the side of her neck, just where the neck and the clavicle bone met. I felt her whimper and I felt the need swirl inside me as I continued humping and releasing my seed in her. The taste of her blood in my mouth made me go mad with pleasure and love. I continued biting her and she arched her neck in such a way that I had full access. Black then returned to my subconscious, and I collapsed on top of her with a smile. I felt her groan with my weight and I flipped us with me still inside her and still held her to me. Blood from her mark wound continued dripping on me and I took the nearest cloth my hand could grasp and held it tightly against the wound. Are you okay? I asked her with a smile. Heck, I was smiling like an idiot. It felt euphoric, marking Tamia. I want to bite her again because the feeling was heavenly. Yeah, I am okay, she said, as she continued lying on my chest. I love you, Tammy, I said, calling her with the nickname my sister used for her. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for not getting disgusted at my past. Thank you for, she continued, but I didn't want her to relive that past. I wanted her to be here and know that I was here for her and it was now the present. So, I kissed her. I kissed her deep and longed to let her know that none of that mattered. We had now started a new chapter. We were bonded mates now. I couldn't believe that Killian was now my mate. He was all I ever wanted, and who knew that sex could be so thrilling? At first, my body usually shivered whenever I thought of sex because that word was pain to me. That was why I didn't even feel bad when Killian mated with Data, because if I was going to feel pain whenever having sex, then I didn't want it. But Killian proved me wrong. Killian made me feel things I never thought were humanly possible. I was fearful at first when I saw his size, but he used it well and well. Let's just say I want to do it again. I felt shy when Aurora came later with the doctor to treat my wound, and she was smiling sheepishly at me. I can't believe that you are now my sister-in-law. Who would have thought that my stupid brother had it in him to make you his? I thought he was gonna cower, but here we are, Aurora said excitedly, and what was I supposed to say with Killian here? Holding to me. She was giggling like an idiot. Aurora, don't you have things to do in the pack? Killian asked her, pretending to be offended. No, my only job right now is to torture you. She giggled again and pulled me to her. Be careful. She's tired and has a wound. He screamed at her when he saw that she was pulling me without care. And whose fault is it? Why did you have to plow her like there was no tomorrow? Who told you to mark her? You made her tired and gave her a wound. And you are here shouting at me? Aurora said, and the doctor and I both looked awkward. Don't mind him, sis. Come here and tell me how it all went down. Come here, she said as everyone listened. How was I supposed to relive my sex experience with my mate, her brother, to her? I never knew that this girl had this side to her. I didn't know what to say. As Killian was acting all possessive with me and Aurora was treating me like a small child wanting to gossip. Aurora, I swear if she starts bleeding I will kill you, Killian said. Not if I kill you first, big brother. Now shut up and let me catch up with my sister-in-law. You had the whole of yesterday and the whole night with her. Don't I have a right to talk to her? It's not like I will take her from you, the girl said. Aurora, don't say that again, Killian warned. What? Take her from you? She repeated. And the green jar was drinking vinegar, looking at her like she wasn't his sister. His eyes showed that he would murder her if she repeated that statement again. Aurora. He left the warning hanging. Oh, my goddess. Who knew that my cold iceberg of a brother had this side to him? She said with a giggle, and we finally managed to leave Killian with the doctor. It was after I promised him that I would be careful and not hurt myself and made Aurora promise to take care of me. Did he let us go? He thinks you are weak. Wait until he sees you in action, Aurora said, and it was true. Killian hadn't still wrapped his mind over the fact that I was a beta and not an omega like we all initially thought. Thus, his mind still told him that I was a weak omega. Anyway, tell me how it all happened, everything. Don't leave out anything, Aurora said, returning to the gossip girl she was. How do you want me to tell you about my sexapades with your brother? Gross. I pretended to be grossed out, but she wasn't having any of it. What's gross about it? I was your friend before you hopped to his bed and got marked. Details, please. Don't waste my time, she said, and that made me laugh. For your information, he hopped into my bed and not the other way round. I corrected. And the difference is 0 because you have his mark. Details, Tammy. Details. She wasn't letting it go and I was forced to speak. I told her the whole story about how I had told Killian everything, to how gentle he was. By the time I was finishing, she was in tears. I can't believe that my brother has grown so much. It was so hard for him to trust anyone, and now here he is. Thank you for coming to our lives, Tamia. Thank you so much, she said, and I had no idea why she said that. I hadn't really been with Killian much to know what he had been through, but I was glad that I was here. If there is anyone that should be thanked, it should be you. Thank you for accepting me in your pack and giving me a home. And I am happier now that we are family, I said, and I meant it. Aurora's joy was infectious because she really made me feel that I made the right decision by agreeing to be Killian's mate. As Aurora and I continued talking and gossiping about who was falling in love with who in the pack and who was fucking who, I felt a strange feeling in me. There is an intruder in the pack. They are coming for her, I said, and Aurora understood who I meant. Let's go, I told her. Shouldn't we call Killian and Kira at least? She asked. Tell them via the link as we go. Let's give our visitors a surprise. Welcome, I said, excited to have some action. I had even forgotten about the wound that was on my neck. I felt this strong surge of energy that wanted to kick some ass. Tamia, are you okay? Killian's voice in my head startled me and I almost tripped on my feet. What the fuck? I said as I regained my footing. Language, baby. Language. Are you okay? He reprimanded and then asked. Yes, I am. How the foo? How? Are you in my head? I asked. It's our mate bond. We can communicate since you are a part of this pack now officially. I will explain the next later. Kira and I and some warriors are on our way. Be careful, he said, and I didn't say anything. If I had to be careful of a few intruders, then I wasn't Tamia. Aurora and I walked quickly and it was I who was leading the way. I saw this map in my head that showed me where the intruders were. They had come in through the southern gate and they had incapacitated the guards, but from what I could see, they weren't dead. 3 women. They are going towards the guest rooms in the western wing. They know where she is, I said as I increased my pace. I wasn't running, but Aurora, who was taller than me, had to jog to keep up. Within no time, we were in the room where we had kept Data, and she was asleep. She looked like she didn't know that her saviors were here. Kellen? Hey you! Wake up! I shook her silently and she opened her eyes. AI, you already have me prisoner. Can't you allow my tired bones to rest in peace? She asked as she rubbed her eyes as the chains that held her hands together clanged with noise. You have visitors, I said, with a smile. She seemed amazed at first, with her gaze rising, and then her eyes fell again. Oh, don't be sad. We will be here to give your sisters a welcome they will never forget, I said with a smile. Fuck you. Data cursed at me. Oh, she was already fucked the whole night last night by my brother, Aurora said, and both Data and I gave her a look that told her that she was crazy. When I was 10 years old, I watched as wolves came to our coven and killed everyone. They had special totems that deflected any magic that was thrown at them. My mother hid me in a very big pot that she used to store herbs in and hid it in the kitchen. When the wolves entered the kitchen looking for any survivors, they opened that big pot and only saw herbs. That was the first time I was happy that I was small-bodied and a witch. Mother had used magic to hide me. That time, I didn't understand what was happening and why it would happen. I didn't understand why one race would choose to annihilate another race. After the massacre and after the wolves left, I stayed in the pot as my mom had asked me. I was waiting for her to come for me, but she never came. I couldn't tell for how long I was there, but I had to get out after I couldn't take the hunger anymore. My stomach had been growling for so long that I almost fainted. I got out slowly and stealthily. And that's when I saw it. The first thing that assaulted my nostrils was the smell of blood. Everywhere was coated with dried blood. Dried rivulets of blood were a lover and the bodies were uncountable. Some died of stab wounds, others wolf bites. Others heavy hits here and there, and all. The killers didn't discriminate. Young and old were all killed. I didn't cry. Either I was too young to feel the weight of what I had just seen, or the people were too many for me to shed tears for. That was until I found my mother's body. She was lying several meters away from our house and my dad was on top of her. It looked like he died trying to protect her. She might have been directing her killers away from the house so that they wouldn't find me. I cried then. Heavy, painful tears, but there was no one to comfort me. I called her, but she didn't answer. Her eyes were open and I was too young to see that they were lifeless. That's when my heart tore. I screamed and scratched the ground, but there was no one to console me. I was all alone. It took me, a 10-year-old girl, a long time to come to terms with the fact that my clan was no more and I was all alone. That was until almost a month later when my mom's sisters found me. They had hidden and had started going round all the covens looking for survivors. They helped in burying the remains of my clan's people. They wondered how I had lived with that smell, but I wasn't talking. I had decided to hide by keeping mum. I came speak 3 years later when they told me about their revenge plan. I wanted in on it, and since then, it has been 90 years and I am still at it. I have helped kill hundreds of wolves, but the sweetest is when I spell them and watch them kill each other. The way I made Killian kill all those wolves. It was sweet. Aida wasn't my birth mother. She was my mom's sister, but she had become a mother to me. She brought me up and protected me. She taught me everything I knew as a witch. All our missions never failed until she came to live in this pack. She had managed to make the alpha wolf ostracize his wife and children until that brat of a son returned after his mother's death. It was all going smoothly, and it was after he killed my mother that I had to take revenge for her. It took me years of planning, and my only solace was that Aida had thrown a curse at her before she died. For her to sacrifice her life like that, she must have known that she won't get out of it alive. I planned it well, showing him those fake dreams and making him traverse the world looking for that single quote savior. It all went well, but Tamia, that damn little puppy, was the only thing I never planned for. I never saw that coming. This war between witches and wolves will end with one race being totally annihilated, but as long as we are breathing, then the war continues. Now, I am in this hellhole of a pack with no way of communicating to my sisters and other mothers because she took away all my powers. But what kept me going was the little hope that my coven is looking for me. I knew that if they went for a few days without hearing from me, they would come, and they did. The only problem was that that damn girl knew they were here even before they arrived. She was very strong, and I am yet to know how. How did she get all those powers and from where? I was just resting my tired aching old bones when she and that princess barged in. I am 100 years old, and now that I didn't have my powers, I feel 200. With my powers, I felt like an 18-year-old girl. We witches can live to hundreds of years, by the way. Anyway, when I saw Tamia and Aurora, I knew that they didn't bring good news. You have visitors, she said, and I was hopeful there for a while as I thought that my family was finally here to get me. But then I remembered how powerful she was, and if she knew they were here, it meant that she was ready for them. They turned off the lights and we all waited in the darkness. Tamia, held my mouth so that I wouldn't make any noise and alert the intruders who were coming for me. We didn't wait for long before someone opened the door by magic. Kellen, are you here, baby? My other aunt asked. Aurora then turned on the lights and my aunts, two of them, stood there flabbergasted. Welcome to our pack, Tamia said with a smile that told my aunts that they were busted. One of them tried throwing a spell, but Tamia was on them both. I hadn't seen the chains she was holding, or maybe she conjured them from somewhere, but within seconds, my aunts were on their knees and chained up. She then did what she did to me. She held one of them by the chin and turned her head to face upwards. She then held her forehead and pulled as if she was pulling air. At first we didn't see what she was pulling, just my aunt screaming, and then after a while of accumulation, we saw the thread of power in her palm. She was sucking out their powers, and I wished I could kill her. She did that to both of them with a smile on her face. I have never been glad that we changed your fate. May you continue suffering? One of my aunts said, and they fell down at the same time. They came prepared, and like me, who was caught off guard. It is usually our norm to carry poisonous tablets when going for a mission in case it fails. If one is caught, they are supposed to bite it and one dies instantly. This is to prevent one being tortured for information. That day when Tamia ambushed me, I didn't have it because I thought I had it all. Since Killian was in my palms, I didn't think that there was someone here who would see through me. But here I was. Did I regret even one bit? Not at all. Will they get anything out of me? Not if I can help it. I was now mated to Killian, and nothing has ever felt so right. The wound that kept prickling at my neck was not the only reminder of what we did last night. My legs were also aching slightly, but I was happy. Aurora made the situation worse by telling anyone who would listen that I was now her brother's mate and wife. She was so happy that anyone would have thought she was the one who had been mated to someone. Her happiness was infectious, and I found myself pouring my heart to her. She was so adorable. As we were speaking, I suddenly saw this map in my mind with dots showing me that there were intruders in our pack. Even without being told who they were, anyone with a brain would have been able to tell that they had come to rescue one of them. Sometimes I think that the goddess gave me these powers with a reason. There was a reason why she did it. I now understand what she meant when she told me that I had to save her children. Was it this? I seemed like a pro when using the powers, whereas I had no idea how I knew how to do those things. For instance, I didn't know how I knew how to take the witch's powers. I just found myself drawing them out by instinct. It was like when someone had amnesia. The memories were there but buried in our subconscious, and one did things out of habit. And they didn't and couldn't even explain how they knew what to do. That's how I was. The two intruders didn't know what hit them. Too bad that they killed themselves before we could interrogate them. One of them said that it was good they changed my fate, and I wanted to know what she meant, but she died before I could ask her. I knew I could ask Helen, but this one would rather die than tell me what I needed to know. I also wanted Data to keep thinking that she still had hope of escaping as we waited for the blood moon. This one was destined for better things. What did your mothers mean when they told Tammy that they changed her fate? Aurora asked the question that was bugging me. And why would I tell you? Are we friends? Isn't she all-knowing? She will find out, as I had predicted. Data wouldn't say anything. It's okay though. I will find out. By the time Killian and his warriors were getting where we were, the two women were long gone. After explaining for a while what happened, Killian left instructions with Kira and took me. You have to be careful. I can't have you getting hurt because it would kill me, he said, and I didn't know what to say to that. I wasn't used to people caring for me. It had been so long since someone showed me such care, and seeing it from Killian made me feel a bit awkward. She's not a weakling. She is capable enough of taking care of this pack even without you. So stop treating her like an expensive porcelain that would break at the slightest of touches and let her reign. We hadn't realized that Aurora had followed us, and that doubled my shame. She's my mate. I have the right to treat her like my expensive porcelain because she's more expensive than that. He counterattacked, and I smiled, wondering since when were these two bickering siblings. Tamia, let's go sleep in my room tonight, Aurora said. Aurora. Her brother bellowed menacingly at her. What? She's my sister-in-law, isn't she? I also have a right to want to spend time with her, don't I? She asked. I knew she was just rallying her brother's emotions, and I smiled as I watched Killian's face change with emotions. I was just joking, brother. I wouldn't take your mate from you since I know you are still celebrating your honeymoon, but I will tell you this, if you hurt Tammy in any way again, you will have me to contend with, she said seriously, and my heart melted. It felt good to have someone looking out for me. I would kill myself first before you got to me if I were to ever hurt her. I promise, he said, and I felt my heart and legs turn to jelly. I was so emotional. Here were two people who barely knew me, but they were willing to risk their lives for mine. It was heartwarming. I stood there frozen, wondering if the goddesses was preparing me for all the suffering I had underwent in the pack. I called home. Tammy, you all right, baby? The two siblings turned to me together with worried faces. Are you okay? Killian asked again. Yeah, I am, I said. Then what's wrong? He asked again. It's just that it had been very long since someone showed me care, and you too. I couldn't finish because I would shed tears if I did, and I didn't want to. They both encompassed me in a hug. You better get used to it because we have just began, Aurora said, and I couldn't hold those tears anymore. I cried, but they were tears of joy and happiness. My heart was finally home. I was happy. Killian led me to his chambers, and I stood at the door. Since I came to this pack, I have never been to his rooms, and this was the first time. When I entered that door, I remembered that these were the quarters Data used. I couldn't spend a night in a place she had been, let alone a bed she had slept in. Please come in, he said as he looked at me when he realized I wasn't following him. I still didn't say anything, but my legs wouldn't move. Data. I began to try forming what I wanted to say into words, but it was proving hard. I didn't want to hurt him, but I didn't want to get hurt either. Oh, sorry, but she didn't spend the few days she was here in my chambers, like you. I had asked the maids to give her her own quarters, and they are just next to mine. I also made sure that they were cleaned and everything changed after she left, he said, understanding what I meant by my actions. I smiled in relief and then walked in, but I caught something he said. If you have never brought anyone else here, why me? I asked. You are my mate. I love you. I feel like I have known you for years, and I just want to spend every waking and sleeping moment with you. Is that weird? I think it is. This is unlike me. I have never cared about another person this much, he said, and I guess me and him felt the same, but I didn't say it. I just kept quiet and followed him to the bedroom. I had your things moved here. Sorry I didn't ask you, but after Aurora took you away, I realized if I don't show her who you belong to, she will continue doing that, and I can't have it. I hope you don't mind. This will be your closet, and if you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask, he said, and my jaw almost dropped. He was efficient, this one. I will give him that. So I was officially Killian's mate. Killian's mate. I liked how the words rolled on my tongue. Sleeping here besides Tamia makes me feel like I conquered the world. She is so beautiful while asleep and awake. I love her and I want to own her and make her only think of me, right? Now, I realize what love looks like. I am in love. I know I am, and I am grinning like an idiot, comparing this with what I had with Data. I now know that back then, I was doing what I thought was my duty. I was with Data because I thought she was my savior, and so everything I did it to make her comfortable so that she could help flee me of the curse. It was an obligation I had to fulfill, even when I had sex with her. I did it as a duty. Take for instance the last time I did it with her. I did it because she told me that if I did, my lust for blood would go away. But with Tamia, it's different. I am with her because I want to. I am with her because I feel like she has become a part of me, and so I don't want to lose her because I feel like if I did, I would lose myself, since I marked her. I am the proudest. She has my mark on her neck, and my pheromones in her. Every male wolf will be able to tell that she is my mate. They can't touch her. That thought alone makes me want to scream so that the whole world can know that she is mine. The blood moon is almost here with us, but for the first time since it started happening 8 years ago, I am not panicked or worried. I think it's because Tamia is with me, and like Aurora said, she is much stronger than I thought. At first, I thought that Aurora and Kira were praising her for nothing, but now I know that that isn't the case. They kept praising her because she is what they said, stronger than I even thought possible. During training, she defeated so many wolves and only a few, me included, were able to defeat her. She gave Kira a run for his money, and he is the second most strong wolf in this pack after me. The blood moon will be with us in a week. You ready? Tamia asked me one morning at breakfast as we ate for the morning training routine. I don't know. For a very long time, I have been turning into a killing machine, and I am really afraid. I am afraid that if I get too excited, then it will all be a dream and that I will wake up from it. I am afraid that it might all be a facade to make me lower my guard. I told her, even though I had said that I am not afraid, I know that deep down I am, and I didn't want to lie to Tamia. I wanted her to know exactly how I felt. I know how you might feel because I have been there. Sometimes I am afraid too. I am afraid that I am living a very nice dream and that one day I will wake up and find myself in the midnight pack, all beaten and battered, with Logan and his warriors still torturing me. I am afraid that one day I am going to discover that you and Aurora are all figments of my hallucinating mind, that you two are make-believe persons I conjured up so as to be able to handle reality. So, it's okay to be afraid. As long as she wanted to continue, but I couldn't let her. I didn't want her to keep thinking of anything that might hurt her, and so I distracted her. I moved to her side of the table even without her noticing and sat at the chair next to hers. I took her lips in mine and kissed her. She froze for a second and then returned the kiss. I then bit her lower lip, hard to draw blood. Ouch. That hurts, she said as she broke the kiss and hit me lightly. Oh, I wanted you to realize that I am not a figment of your imagination and that I am real. Everything else in your life can be a dream, but not me. I am real, and even if you are living a dream, I want to wake up in your real world with you, I said, and she smiled at that. Yes, I also want that. If it's a dream, I don't want to wake up because it would kill me to find that you are just my imagination. I want to stay here with you, she said, and this time, she initiated a kiss. My Tamia is becoming braver. Tamia was the type of a shy person who was still building her self-confidence, and I really understood her. After everything that she had been through, she is a very strong person to have made it thus far. She always drew back and questioned herself when doing things, and her initiating a kiss made me realize that we are growing. I love you, I told her, and she smiled. She didn't say anything as usual and shied away. Tammy baby, I called, and she blushed. You have to say it back, I told her. Why? Don't you know that I do? She asked me, avoiding my gaze. I know you do. But you have to say it back. I want assurance. I want you to tell me so that my heart can be content, I said. She was the type who rarely said those words no matter how much I tried. Like I was saying, you don't have to worry about a thing because something tells me that the goddess wants you to be freed of the curse. Maybe she wants you to help me with my revenge plan, she said and smiled at me, successfully diverting the topic we were discussing earlier. The goddess doesn't have to will it for me to do it. I would do it anyway because that was the first promise I made to myself. I will make all those who hurt you beg at your feet, I told her, and I meant it. I will make her happy, and that happiness meant me making those who hurt her pay. She might be forgiving and understanding because she told me that she understood that Logan did it because he was Alana's brother, but I don't care. As a good brother and as an alpha, it was his duty to investigate what truly happened the day his sister died and not just jump into conclusions. Does his pack have elders? I asked out of the blue as we continued without breakfast, and Tamia looked at me like I had lost my mind with a questioning gaze. Sorry, I was just thinking about that dude, Logan. Does his pack have elders? I asked clearly. Why do you ask? She asked, I guess wondering what was going through my mind. Why didn't he investigate to see whether your words held any truth even? When you said that someone else killed his sister, weren't there elders in his pack to counsel him when he continued to torture you even without evidence? I asked. Oh, there are elders, but I don't think he listens to them much, she said, and I understood why the guy would behave that way. I will avenge you, I told her. Let's get you better first, she said and kissed me again. Oh, we weren't taking steps but milestones. A few days to the blood moon and I was starting to feel its pull like was norm, but this time it had taken long, for it usually came earlier than this. But Tamia could tell that I was in turmoil and try to assure me that all was going to be well in a few days, but I was still fearful. She said that we had to perform the needed ritual on the D-Day because that way, it would be newly risen and hungry for blood. We are going to give it blood, all right, she said as she held my forehead and massaged it slowly, and I felt the lust alleviate. She was so good to me, and I usually felt and still feel calmer when I am with her. I can't thank the moon goddess enough for making her come my way. I also thank Data, because if she hadn't sent me those fake dreams, I wouldn't have left home and I thus wouldn't have met Tamia. Aurora had ordered a feast to be prepared. She figured that we needed to celebrate my emancipation from the clutches of the evil, like she put it. We are slaughtering 12 bulls and we will have other delicacies to go with the meat, she told me, as she gave me the budget for approval. Everyone who can hold a knife will be a chef that day. We are not bringing outside catering since I want everything to be in-house, she continued. Why so much? I asked her. This was a lot of money because according to the budget, we were to use more than $150,000. Because, my dear brother, we will be celebrating your liberation from that evil, and that day, no house will cook. We will all have a communal meal and celebrate together. Also, don't forget that our pack has grown. We have almost 300 new additions, she said, and I remembered that while I was unconscious after the exhaustion Data had put me through in the forest, Tamia was able to save the members of the pack I attacked while under the spell. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Kira, how is the settling them coming along? I asked the man who had become Aurora's shadow of late. Since I got mated to Tamia, these two have been spending most of their time together. I knew something was going on, but I hadn't gotten round into asking. We have already been able to settle them and they are building their new houses now. We have allocated each family a piece of land where they can grow food and build or even keep animals if they so want. Those able have been given jobs in the pack and outside, and the little ones have already been enrolled in school, he said. And I felt proud of my Beta. Such a hardworking man. Oh wow. That was fast. Good work. I praised him because it was usually advisable to give credit where it was due. Oh no, don't thank me. Thank Tamia. Without her strategic planning, we wouldn't have been able to do all that, he said with a smile that told me that I was an idiot for not knowing it. Tamia? I couldn't believe it. Since when was she a strategist? I told you that she can take care of the pack even without you. Did you think I was joking? Aurora asked me. That day when Aurora said that, I thought that she was just praising Tamia for what she did, you know, finding me in the forest and defeating Data. I knew that meant she was powerful, but in leading a pack, strength as well as brains were needed. That means that I have a Luna who is capable of holding her own even when I am not around. That what a comforting thought, and I felt my heart swell with pride. And talking of Tamia, where is she? I asked my sister. Tamia left early after breakfast and told me that she had something to do with Aurora. Now, Aurora was here and Tamia was nowhere to be seen. Oh, she's fine, just taking care of the ritual that is to be performed. She visited the oracle after we were done because she said that she will need his help since he is the goddess's representative here. She explained. I signed the documents Aurora and Kieran needed me to sign for the treasury, and I left. I needed to see what Tamia was doing with the oracle, and I also needed her. I wanted to see her even if it was for a while. I walked towards the southern part of the pack where the oracle resided, and I realized that it had been very long since I talked to my people or since they saw me. Since the blood moon curse, I rarely found time for the affairs of the pack since I was always on the move, looking for a cure. I didn't even know the current population of my pack, but if this thing goes away, I will be able to settle and at least know my pack well. I guess Aida knew that I would be busy to take care of my pack and she expected it to disintegrate and be absorbed by other larger packs, but too bad. Good thing was that I had Aurora and Kira to take care of everything, even when I was away. As I was walking, I saw a lot of new faces and old ones and they all stood to greet me and I just couldn't ignore them. So, it took me longer than I would have needed to reach to the Oracle's place. After I was done with the pleasantries and all, it was an hour after I left my office and Tamia found me still on my way. I smiled when I saw her and that's when I felt my heart settle. I don't know why I am afraid, but I am. What would happen if Tamia decides to leave me? It's not that I don't trust her, but this whole thing seems too good to be true. She's too good to be my mate, and every time we go for long without seeing her, I start fearing that she doesn't want to be with me anymore and she has left me. What are you doing on these sides? She asked me with a smile as she hugs me. I return the hug and sniff her hair and I feel my heart return to its place. Finally, I was on my way to find you, but then I got held up. What took you so long? I asked her. I had to take care of some issues with the Oracle because I needed his advice on the whole data thing. Also, I needed his help in rallying the elders of the council for the ritual. It can't be a public spectacle, but we need them there. It would be bad if they thought that we never respected their positions in this pack anymore, don't you think? She asked. And I wondered, yet again, how I could be this lucky. I hugged her again and spoke. Why are you so intelligent? You think of all angles even before I have. Thank you. No need to thank me. I thought I am your Luna and I am supposed to help you, she said as she squeezed my back in assurance. I love you so much. You know that, right? I asked her as I bent to kiss her neck. Yes, I know, and you can't do that here, she told me as she broke the hug with a giggle. Annie Tamia, Mama calls you for lunch. A child, a beautiful young girl, came running toward us. Lunch? I asked her. Wanna see how your people live? She asked me with a knowing smile and started walking while pulling me by my hand. After you, my queen, I said sarcastically because she was already taking me anyway. This was the life I wanted after all this was done.